In the last few days, we've been having a lot of talks and a lot of bhajans too. And after every bhajan session, I've always had people who come and say, we feel we were in Prashanti. A few even said, it felt as if Swami was seated there. As soon as this was said, I felt, don't we believe that Bhagwan is there when we sing? Isn't that why we sing? Because we want Him to be there. We want to be aware of His presence and we want to enjoy not just imagining Him, but we want to feel Him, right? A lot of people talk about the omnipresence of God. Some of us read it in, probably in the Ramayana or as Lord Krishna in the Dwapara Yuga. We have seen Swami show His omnipresence several times. I recollect when we were children in the primary school at Puttaparthi, several times we wouldn't like what was being served in the hostel, the food in the hostel. Like for example, we used to have darshans on Thursdays and Sundays. So the easiest breakfast to be made used to be idli. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with idli. Now that was not something that children like because just by itself it's tasteless. At least that's what I felt. So it was one Thursday when the breakfast was idli again, and me and another friend of mine, we decided let's skip breakfast. So we didn't go into the dining hall. We went directly out into the lines and then we went to the mandir for darshan. We were seated there, the music began, and then Swami walked into the hall. As usual, he was smiling, he was taking letters, he was blessing people. And slowly, as he reached us, me and my friend happened to be in the first line because we had skipped breakfast, so we were the first in the line. And then we raised on our knees and we asked him, Swami, can we take Padmanamaskar? He was smiling till then, As soon as we asked, Swami, can we take Padmanamaskar? He said, what was for breakfast? My friend, she went blank. She couldn't recollect what was for breakfast. Then I nudged her and said, idli. So she said, Swami, yes, idli. He asked, okay, how many did you have? And we both just looked at each other because we couldn't say anything. We couldn't lie to him. And we knew if we said we skipped breakfast, we were in for trouble. So then we just kept quiet. And then he smiled and he said, again he asked what was for breakfast. Again both of us said idli. Again he asked the same question, how many did you have? So finally we had to say it. We raised on our knees even higher up so that none of the teachers around could hear. And we said, Swami, we don't like idli, so we didn't have it. Swami did not encourage us skipping meals, but then he didn't want us to get into trouble with the teachers. So very lovingly, he bent down and then he said, idli is good for you. You must eat it. But he didn't shout it as in front of you. He didn't say it aloud, so none of the teachers knew. They just felt there was some interaction between us and Swami and they were smiling. But we knew that he was telling us what we did was not right. Now this was something that happened in the hostel for For a lot of you who have been to Puttaparthi, you would know the distance that the primary school is from the main mandir. This was just one way in which he showed that he is omnipresent. Now some of us may think that was alright, you know. When we could see him physically in the mandir, when we went to Puttaparthi, when we went to the Kulwant Hall, when we could see him, that was all good. Yeah, he knew what was happening in our lives and he would show us instances off and on that he is aware of what is happening. But what today? Does that omnipresence still hold good? That's a question that probably people don't voice very openly, but then that's what is there in a lot of minds. Here I would like to quote, I'm sure there are a lot of people who have felt his presence, but since I am standing here today, I would like to say this is what I have experienced in the last 1 year. I've been married now for a year, and after we got married, I moved to Puttaparthi because that's where Arvind works in Radio Sai. And initially, I would find it very difficult to go to the mandir, to the Kulwant Hall, because there were a lot of memories that I had of Bhagwan in the hall, and I felt I did not have the strength to sit there and just see an empty chair or to see a white marble samadhi. After a while, I had to get used to it because being in Parthi and not attending mandir was something that I wouldn't be able to live with. So I had to go. But then, just to give myself strength, I would tell myself that Swami was there at home, in my altar at home. So I would talk to him and tell him, Swami, I'm going to the mandir, give me strength so that I'm able to sit through and not keep crying. Let me enjoy the mandir session just as I had before, when Swami was physically around. One such day, when I went to the mandir, it was in the morning bhajan session. 9 o'clock Omkaram began and the bhajan started. Somehow again the tears started to pour because I was accustomed to seeing him when the bhajans were there. Either you would see him walk into the bhajan hall or he would be seated outside. And then because I wasn't able to stop, I just closed my eyes and started picturizing Swami seated there. Now I had seen him over a number of years and I just imagined what it would be, what his reaction would be, all those when he would tap his hand to the bhajan along with the beat, or when he would smile when some of the bhajans were in some way, which were very touching bhajans. And I kept picturizing Swami that way. And I was happy with that. By the end of the bhajans, by the end of Aarti, I felt okay, this was not really bad, It wasn't as bad as the previous times. I was still enjoying the bhajans in the mandir. And yeah, I had not seen him, but then I had closed my eyes and imagined, I visualized him, so I felt I had darshan. That day when I went back home, I felt I could still talk to Swami. So when I went back home, I was telling him in the altar at home that Swami, physically I'm not able to see you, but this is what I'm going to do every day. I'll go to the mandir, I'll close my eyes, and the rest of the darshan would be entirely in my mind. Because I would imagine Swami walking, I would imagine him sitting and enjoying the bhajans, I would enjoy him taking the aarti and go back. And only after the final, the last Om Shanti Shanti after the bhajans, I would open my eyes. So I wouldn't feel the absence of Swami in that hall, in the Kulwant hall. And then I thought, it's not just about the mandir. I have him even at home because I talk to him in the altar every day, right? And I was happy with that. But this is, where we make a mistake. We think Swami is there around us. We talk to him when we need, but we don't remember that all through the day. We remember him only at certain moments. Now that's what happened. The rest of the day went on fine. I didn't have anything much to complain about, so I did not have any more conversations with him. And then that night when I went to bed, I had a dream. In the dream, Swami was seated on the chair that we had kept at home for him. And there were a group of people who were seated at his feet. And there were bhajans. Swami was enjoying the bhajans. At the end of the bhajans, he said, he looked at the table which was kept next to his chair, and there was only a glass of water. And he looked around and said, "No food for Swami?" Then it struck me, that's how the dream ended. Then it struck me that although we say Swami is a part of our lives, although I talk to him every single day as if he is there in the altar, I have never really thought about the food that we should offer to him. All of us say Brahmarpanam, but how many of us actually think that, this is the food that I'm offering to him? Keep a plate aside, saying that yes, if Swami wants to eat, he can come and eat this. All of us just, serve whatever we like in our plates. We say Brahmarpanam, and then we start eating it. That's what all of us do. Anyway, after this dream, I told everybody at home that we should start keeping food for Swami. And that's what we do. Every single day, whatever is made, before we have the food, we offer it, we put it in a plate and we put it in the altar. And then after we have our food, we take that as prasadam. Now again, this is how the mind works, After a few days, I started thinking, all that is fine. I had a dream, I started keeping the food. But does Swami really, will he really come and eat? Did he really want that food to be kept there? After a couple of days, there was another dish that was put in the altar. It was not anything special. For any of you know what upma is, the vermicelli is made into a dish. That was placed in the altar. And then when we went to take it, after a while we take it out as prasadam, we see there was vibhuti in the plate. This happened several times. We used to see that when we offer something, whether it was rice or roti, there would be, on certain days, I don't know in what way Swami decided that on this particular day I would show my presence, but several times we would see that there would be vibhuti in the food, and we would all take it as prasadam and feel happy about it. But this was not enough, And the way the doubts arise in minds, it's something which is very, very strange, because in spite of Swami showing his presence, we tend to forget. At times we start questioning. We want more and more proof. We want him, we say, okay, yeah, you proved it the last time, prove it yet another time, for my faith to get stronger. So again, after a few days, what happened was, I had decided to do the Shirdi Satcharitra. There is a book on the life of Shirdi Baba, which it is believed that if you complete the reading of that entire book in a week, then what you ask for will be given to you. That's a belief that is there. And I had thought that I would do that. So I had started doing the reading, and then 7 days I was able to do it. On the last day, is there anybody who has read the Satcharitra? I'm not very sure. But when you finish the entire thing, there is an aarti that you need to do. Just like how we do aarti at the end of every bhajan session. At the end of the Sachritar reading, there is an aarti that we have to do waving the camphor. So as we were doing that, we had made prasadam and offered it in the altar. And I know that we had placed the prasadam in the altar. It was a sweet, and we had put it, and then we had started doing the waving of the camphor, the aarti. And just like how our aarti is like probably it's 2 minutes, so that's the time that had passed. And by the end of the aarti, we could see there were fingerprints in the sweet. As if somebody has scooped out a part of the sweet with 2 fingers. Like if you would have done this probably, that was the marking that was left in the sweet. For everybody at home it was, yes, Swami has eaten it. Swami has accepted the prasadam that we have put. To me, it was a reconfirmation that his presence has always been there, and every time I have a doubt or every time I feel that, is Swami there? Is he still there? Because I know the last time he proved it by showing vibhuti in the food. Just because I wanted a reconfirmation, he gave it. Now, a few of us may ask, why doesn't it happen everywhere? Why does it happen only with few people? A lot of my friends have asked me that question. It's really nice to know what is happening. You're really blessed that Swami has shown you his presence. But why isn't it happening with me? Why isn't it happening in so many other places? Probably only Swami can answer that question. But I think if we genuinely ask for something and we require it, that is when it will be given to you. When we say God knows best, we need to trust that. We cannot question what He is doing because we believe that He is God, right? Once you say He is God, then you also have to trust His judgment. Let us not question what He is giving. Let us just accept it and be grateful for everything that He is giving, because none of us can say we deserve all the blessings that we get. Once we believe that Bhagwan is omnipresent, then we should be able to talk to Him. We should be able to tell Him everything that is happening. There was one time, this was in the year 1989, when my mother had visited Puttaparthi. She was in Bombay back then, and then she had visited Parthi during the birthday celebrations around November time. And she wanted to ask Swami to take me into his school, into the primary school as a student. But she did not want to, in the darshan line, she did not want to get up and ask him, because she felt that would be breaking the discipline of the darshan. So she felt if he comes to her and asks her, only then she would ask for it. And that did not happen because the birthday crowds, she barely managed to have a darshan. She wasn't anywhere close to asking him anything. And so by the end of it, by the end of the trip, she just knew that she had good darshan, but there was nothing much. She couldn't communicate anything with Swami. And she went back. She had to go back to Bombay, and she left. Just before she left, she went and prayed. Just as she was leaving the mandir, outside the gate, the Ganesh gate, she just went and prayed there, saying, Swami, I wasn't able to tell you directly, but this is what I had made this trip for. because I want my daughter to get admission in your school. And then she came back to Bombay. After a while, it was after a few weeks, somebody came up to her and told her that the admission forms for the primary school were out. And she just happened to hear about it. She managed to talk to a few people, she got the forms, etc. And she applied for admission. Now, I was a girl of 5, and you know how children are. They want their, people, familiar faces around them. So she had started mentally preparing me. She started telling me that you would be staying far away, you would have to stay among, children of your group. And she tried to tell me all the good side to it. And slowly she started telling me that you wouldn't see me every day, you wouldn't see dad every day, etc. As soon as it came to that, I would start saying, no, I don't want to go so far, I'll stay here with you all. Now you know how, for a child, once you promise something, then they think that, okay, I'll try doing it. So then that's what she resorted to. She started telling me that if you go there, I'll get you the chocolates, the scrapbooks, etc. that you want. And eventually I agreed. So then I started preparing for the entrance exam. And eventually the day came, I had to go for the entrance exam. Now at that time there was no direct, you had to come to Bangalore and then come to Parthi. So just one day before the entrance exam, we reached Bangalore. And then because of the journey or because of this train, I'm not sure what, but then I developed a fever. They tried giving me medication, nothing seemed to be bringing the fever down. And towards night, the fever got so high that I wasn't even able to keep my eyes open. So even my mother, she was really scared because she wanted me to, get through the entrance exam. So she started reading out, tables and things like that. So she thought there could be some last minute revision. So I'd be prepared for the entrance exam the next day. But then I was a child after all, and I couldn't really keep my eyes open, so I kept sleeping off. And finally she gave up. So she just prayed and she said, Swami, I told you I want my daughter to, get admission in your school. And after all the preparation, she had done a lot of hard work, sitting with me and preparing me all through those months. And then just one day before the entrance exam, this is my state. So she was upset, she cried a lot, and then she said, okay, fine, Swami, it's your wish. And she left it at that. Now, the next day we went to Parthi, and I went for the exam. I went for the exam. It was supposed to be a 2 hours exam. I finished in half an hour and I came out. Seeing me, she started crying because she knew I hadn't done even half of what was required. Because for a child to finish a 2 hours paper in half an hour means she knows nothing. So she was very sure that I'm not going to clear. She did not even ask me, how did you do? She just, took me and we went and sat in front of towards the Ganesh gate side, and she kept crying. After about half an hour, I asked her, why are you crying? And she says, it was the only thing I asked Swami. In all these years, I have not asked him for anything. The only thing I asked is for you to get admission. So I was like, okay. Then she said, you need to clear, you need to at least write half of what was asked. I said, but I wrote more than half. And she said, but you finished the paper in half an hour. I said, yeah, I wrote everything. She didn't believe me then. So then we went back to Bombay. After a few days, At that time, the results used to be put up outside the school gate and near the canteen. So somebody had to physically go and check the list to know if they have actually cleared the entrance exam. So there was a family friend who had agreed to do that, and my mother called the person and she had informed him that you please go and check whenever the results are announced. So that person called up one day and said, the results are out, and my mother was expecting that no, I'm going to be told that no, she hasn't, her name is not on the list. To her surprise, he said, your daughter is cleared. And she was really happy. Then he said, that's not the only thing. She has cleared and she is the first in the entire list of students. Meaning, she has topped that particular exam that year. And at that time, I had no idea how sick I was. But after a few years, I get to know, at that time I was running a temperature about 103. Now all of us know, how difficult it is even for us to sit and, probably do our day-to-day work if you have anything more than 100 degrees, right? Think of how a child would write an exam under so much of pressure. Physically you're not able to sit, but you write an exam, and it's not just you complete an exam, but you actually top. It's entirely because at that time I was too small to pray for it. It was entirely because my mother had asked Swami that this is what I want. I don't want anything else, I just want her to get admission into your school. I think all of us just need to learn that whatever we need to ask for it. This is the mistake that all of us, several times we do this. We think, we have Swami whenever we need, but actually when we come when we come in a situation where we need something, we start wondering, what should I do? Should I ask this person, or should I do this? Should I try to fix this and that? Let us all just pray that we always remember that He is around, that He should be the support that we look to. At any point in time, let us not forget that our Swami is there for us, and He would give you whatever is good for you, whatever you need at that particular time. Salam.